1. Mike Owens with Inside Fighting here, joined today by Farid Basharat, who returns to action UFC 308, facing Victor Hugo. Farid, always a pleasure, my man. How are things with you today?
I'm very well, thank you. Always great to speak with you, Mike.
Me too, mate. How are your emotions ahead of your return?
Good, I'm very excited. I'm very happy to showcase the improvements I've made. Obviously, I was supposed to fight in June in Saudi. I was excited for that one, and then injury pulled me out of that one. So it's been, by the time I fight, will be 10 months, over 10 months since I fought. And you can imagine I've been in the gym nonstop. So I'm excited to showcase the improvements that I've made.
And you go from fighting on a John Jones undercard, one of the biggest cards of the year, to back in the Apex. And now you're returning to a crowd at Abu Dhabi, where you'll obviously have a lot of support. How are you looking forward to the fan return? And does that change anything for you going into this next one?
I'm excited. Well, actually, I didn't do back-to-back Apex. I did France, a Cause Arena.
Oh, so you did. So you did. My mistake.
Yeah. Which was, by the way, which was the craziest atmosphere of all of them.
Technically, that's actually, well, yeah, I suppose, yeah, you've gone from an arena to the Apex to very much the away fighter. So what were those three experiences like?
Obviously the debut was a big one. John Jones' return. It was probably the biggest card of the year. And also for me, it was my debut. It was a little bit daunting, you know, in some regards, because at that, before my Contender Series fight, and not to put Dan Ige on blast, but 2 weeks before my fight, he injured me bad. It wasn't his fault, but we were sparring, and he took me down, did a mat return, and I posted out and just completely tore my MCL from my elbow to the bone attachment was completely gone. I didn't know this until after the fight when I came back to London and did my did MRI and everything. But so then I had to get surgery, and it was 5 months of rehab and everything, and so it's come back to do my debut on a John Jones card. It was massive. So that was big. And then to fight in Paris, which was crazy because I didn't expect like the atmosphere to be so lively. And that was very exciting. And then to go back to the Apex was kind of like, I didn't mind it so much because at the time I trained in Vegas, so it was literally like 10 minutes from where I lived. So it was comfortable in that regard, but at the same time, like we go into this because, you know, we want to fight in the big stadiums, the big arenas. So to be back now in Abu Dhabi on a huge card again, this is, I'm happy. I'd rather it be this way.
What do you make of your opponent, Victor Hugo? I believe he's either making his UFC debut or he's had one fight, one of the two. What have you made of what you've been able to see of him?
Yeah, so this will be his second fight in the UFC. He's actually he's very decent, very experienced, hasn't lost in 10 years. So, as far as what kind of opposition he's been fighting, I'm sure some of them weren't maybe the level that I've fought, but still, like 10 years is a long time. So I'm sure he's fought some good guys in there, some decent names in there. Fought all over the world, Japan, Brazil, America. He's good. Initially, I was supposed to fight Vinicius. I signed a contract for that, Vinicius Oliveira, and he whatever pulled out for some reason. And I actually think stylistically, this might be a tougher fight than Vinicius Oliveira. Might not have the same name power, but Victor Hugo's good. He's good everywhere. He's experienced, he's tough, and he's gonna want to make a name off me. So I'm fully focused for this guy.
Well, that's what I wanted to ask you, because I think I checked. I think he's on a 14-fight winning streak. Obviously, the question about competition is something that we can label anybody outside of the UFC to an extent. But he's coming in making his debut. You've already got off to such a strong start in the UFC.
Yeah.
Dare I say, it almost feels a little bit like a lose-lose. Can you see that standpoint, or do you not look at it in those terms?
Nah, you know what? If I go down the rabbit hole and like get a bit negative, yeah, maybe I can look at it like that. And especially when my manager Ali first told me that Vinicius Oliveira had pulled out, because I called out Vinicius Oliveira. I thought it was a perfect fight. The winner got top 15. He's a big name. Arguably got the KO of the year earlier this year. And I thought, I'm gonna do this guy. I'm gonna smash him, and then that'll be me ranked. I can go on and do some big things. And it's frustrating in a sense. I think Victor Hugo is arguably better, but I probably won't get the props for it, you know. But the most important thing is, how do I view this fight? Do I understand how good he is? Yes. Am I overlooking him? No. So as far as all that the odds and this and that, and how the fans can perceive this and him, that doesn't matter because when we lock the cage, you know, the odds, they don't do anything for me or him.
Yeah.
So I still have to deal with Victor Hugo, who I know is a very good fighter.
The NFL season is in full swing, and we have a fantastic new offer from our partners over at DraftKings, the #1 place to bet on touchdowns. And right now, all new customers who bet $5 will instantly receive $200 in bonus bets. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and you sign up using our promo code INSIDEFIGHTING. The crown is yours.
Speaking of the top 15, if you get this win, how far away do you think that is? Because you get off to such a strong start in the UFC, as I mentioned, it only feels natural, but then you're in one of the most stacked divisions and you do have to stand out to an extent. So how far away do you think you are from the top 15 matchup?
I don't know. I'm hoping it's after this one, to be honest. If I put on a great performance, I hope the whoever it is that decides the rankings, I think it's the media, I hope they can look at it and go, listen, it's not his fault that he was supposed to have other fights. They pulled out. People don't really want to fight him. And the guy is top 15 worthy, 4-5 win streak, undefeated. And again, I'll go back to my last fight, Taylor Lapillus. Again, I think that's a guy who probably doesn't get the respect he deserves, especially in North America. In Europe, we know how good he is. He doesn't get the respect he deserves. But look at how I dealt with him and how I beat him. I thought I was very impressive. But you would go on to see his next fight and see how handedly he dealt with Cody Stamann. And even before the fight, I predicted. I knew. I said to my brother, even I said, I think Lapillus is gonna breeze past Cody Stamann. I just knew stylistically. There's a lot of these Americans, they can't deal with the European style of kickboxing, and I just think they underestimate him and some of the Europeans. So again, I'm hoping after this fight, honestly, I really do hope after this fight I get a ranking.
Do you feel like you and Javid are still underestimated in your respective divisions?
I think so. I think so to some extent, for sure. I think obviously his last fight on paper was a loss. I don't think it was a loss at all. I think it was a robbery, to be honest with you. It was very frustrating. I don't think it was his best performance, obviously, but going into that fight, he had huge issues with injuries. But nonetheless, I still think he comfortably won the fight if we're talking about scorecards. But at least the UFC didn't see it that way, because his next fight they gave him Chris Gutierrez. So I think, which was a step up. You know, usually off a loss you wouldn't get a step up. So that's a good thing. But yeah, I still think in this division you hear names. You know, even people who've just come into the UFC, like Peyton Talbot and all these other guys, and I'm just like I'm here. You know, see me running through people, you know, but it just is what it is. Again, I can't be too negative. I just got to focus on myself and keep on good performances.
I want to ask you about Javid's loss, because it is technically an L on the record, and it's the first L of either of your competitive careers. Yeah. Is there a collective lesson, because I do know that you're so close, is there a collective lesson that both of you can take, or that you can look at your brother's experiences against Aiemann Zahabi and that you can take into your career?
Yeah, absolutely. There's always things to learn. You know, I mean, I do ultimately just think it was like a perfect storm for him to lose. I think it was the injury combined with a very negative opponent, combined with bad judging, and combined with it being in the apex. And Farid Basharat was, credit to him and his experience, was making a lot of noise when Aiemann Zahabi would punch Javid's shoulder. You know, that's the game, I guess. You got to learn from these things. But there's always something to learn from every fight.
100%. Optics. I remember having a conversation with Eric Nixie, who told me that sometimes you need to look like you're winning the fight more than if you're actually winning the fight. He talked about that in the Chris Curtis Brendan Allen fight, how Brendan looked like he was winning the fight more.
Yeah. I hated that, to be honest. I find that so frustrating. Like, you think how much work we put on the line, and for it to be like, you'd hope the judges who are such a big part of our sport, you'd hope they get it right more times than they don't. But to be honest with you, at this rate, like, whenever a fight goes to decision and it's semi-competitive, you hold your breath because you don't know what they're going to do. Just because a fight is competitive doesn't mean it's necessarily close to score. It could be, you know, like Aiemann Zahabi and Javid was competitive. Aiemann Zahabi had his moments, but I mean, if not for a moment did I think Javid didn't win that fight. At least 2 rounds to 1, probably 3. So it just is what it is. The judging, I hope something happens and like starts improving, because it's scary to go to decision sometimes.
Couldn't agree more. Talking about competitors' fights, I have to ask you about the bantamweight title online on Saturday night between Sugar Sean O'Malley and Merab Dvalishvili. First and foremost, I know that you've obviously spent a lot of time in Las Vegas. Have you ever crossed paths with either? I presume Merab being more likely since he spends a lot of time in Las Vegas.
I haven't trained with Sean O'Malley. I've seen him face to face, but I haven't trained with him. And Merab, I've trained with him a couple times. I haven't trained with him in a while. It's been over a year, I think, since I've trained with him. But yeah, I've trained with him. He's as advertised. He's crazy. He's got crazy gas tank. Keeps coming forward. Good wrestling. Good grappling. So it's going to be a good fight, to be honest.
From your perspective, what do you think are the keys to victory for both men?
I'd say for Sean, I'd say, of course, keeping his distance. Keeping his distance and using all his tools, striking tools, long shots. And for Merab, I would say having a tight guard and just Merab can only, like, I don't mean this disrespectfully. He knows it too. Like, Merab can only kind of do one thing, and that's kind of just like put crazy pressure. And it just happens to be that one thing is pretty great. It's put crazy pressure on you and just up and down, take you down when you think you're gonna and then he'll just fake the takedowns, go over the top, and then he'll go back to the takedowns. And it's limited, but it's very effective. So that's what Merab's got to do. Merab's got to keep mixing in the punches to the takedowns. And no, I don't think for a second Merab's going to think he's gonna try and stand up with him, like make it a stand-up fight. But there will be portions of the fight that are on the feet, and I think Merab can hang in terms of like keep defensively sound to get to his takedown. So that would be the main thing, I think, is just to get to the takedown from Merab.
100%. I hope you don't mind me asking this next question, but I have to ask it. What happened between yourself and Michael Venom Page at UFC 304?
This, to be honest, like, what was it? Manchester. Like, yeah, Manchester. I used to, I don't know if you know, but I used to train.
You were previously shoot fighters?
Yeah, I used to train with them years ago, and me and Javid both, and we got off on what would you call it? On bad terms. Like we left on bad terms, like most people do, to be honest with you. Like, you ask anybody in the UK about those guys, and they all kind of roll their eyes. It's just like, they've built a reputation, negative one. But ultimately, with him, to be honest with you, it was a weird situation. After Bilal Muhammad's fight, the shuttle kind of took us back to the arena, to the fighters' hotel. And I get on the bus, the shuttle, and Michael Page is there, and I'm the only seat available is like right opposite him. So I don't really like him. I don't want to speak with him, but at the same time, I'm not going to avoid the situation. I go sit there, and he pretends not to see me for like 3 or 4 minutes. But I thought, oh, great, I don't really want to speak with him. Perfect. And then he kind of out of nowhere goes, oh, I didn't see you there. How are you? And I shake his hand. I say, okay, good. I keep it short because I don't really like him. I don't want to speak with him. And then when we get off the shuttle, we go back to, I just walk off, and we're in the hotel. I go through the lobby, and he kind of tries to put his arm around my shoulder, and I just kind of like brush it off and say like, no, I don't really want to speak with you. Thank you. And he was obviously drunk a little bit because I could smell it. And his ego must have got a little dented. He goes, why? What's wrong? I said, no, I don't really want to speak with you. You go your way, I'll go my way. But he couldn't let it go. And he said, like, no, what's wrong? What's wrong? And I said, I don't really like you. I don't respect you. I don't want to speak with you. He wouldn't let it go. And we started coming face to face. And the last thing I wanted 7 a.m. in the morning was to get into a fight with somebody 4 weight divisions above me. Like, I'm not the type of guy looking for trouble. Like, those days were earlier in my life, like teenage years. But I don't really want to be getting into this kind of stuff. So I tried to avoid the situation. And then he had a friend with him who kind of chirped something. And as I looked to him to kind of speak with him, Michael Page threw a cheap shot at me. And it kind of just, I'm not sure how well it landed, but it kind of just skimmed me. And after that, you see the video, I'm just trying to get him. And anything about the video and everything was, I'm trying to get him. I'm trying to fight like 6-7 security guards and Volkanovski. And he's got like one guy on him, and I'm trying to get to him. Every time I get close to him, he
he'll go back. And in my head, I was so annoyed. I was thinking, just step to the left a little bit, and we can make something happen. We could throw at least exchange a couple shots, you know. But look, these situations, trust me, I'm not sitting here like some bad boy trying to create hostile situations, trying to get into fights. But sometimes when you have to go, you have to go. If someone starts on you, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter who, why, where, when. And at that point, I just lost it, to be honest. And you'll see in the video, I was trying to get a hold of him for probably about 10 minutes. The video cuts out short, but honestly, I just kind of lost it because I couldn't believe I was trying to de-escalate a situation. You know, I was trying to go my way and stuff. And this coward is he's the one that throws a punch. In my head, I was so pissed. I just wanted, at that point, I would have done anything to get my hands on him. But now, whatever, like, I don't care about this guy. When I see him, we'll deal with it. However, I'm focused on my fight now, but I don't really want to think about this guy.
Yeah.
You know?
No, and I appreciate you asking that, and I'm glad that I asked you that question. I was quite nervous about asking you that. I didn't expect to get that answer, but I'm glad I did, because I'm glad that you've been able to tell your side of the story, because the video doesn't indicate any of that. It certainly indicates that you are extremely angry. So there's obviously an understanding that something's happened.
Of course, and to be honest, because I had a couple guys message me like, I've never seen you like this, you know, because I'm usually quite calm. I'm not one to start things and they're like, what the hell happened? He really must have annoyed you. I was like, oh yeah, of course. And he's a fake guy, to be honest. He's clearly a coward, and whatever. It's a small world, MMA. We'll see each other again.
Well, let's finish off by talking about your fight, because that is what's most important in this conversation. Give me a walkthrough of your perfect fight day as you envisage it. I'd like to know, how do you see your perfect fight day playing out from when you wake up in the morning to when you go to sleep at night?
Usually on fight day, I wake up, have a big breakfast. If it's an Apex card, it's usually earlier. You don't have time to do anything. But these pay-per-view cards are great. You wake up, have breakfast, and then before breakfast, you do a shakeout. You wake up, you do a short shakeout, 15 minutes or so, 20 minutes or so. Then you go, you have breakfast. And then, to be honest, like, fight day is just kind of, you're waiting for the fight. So I'll just kind of make sure I'm around people that I enjoy their company. And I like to sometimes watch fight highlights. It could be of certain fights. It could be anybody, just people that I like. It could be boxing, MMA, kickboxing, whatever. And then at some point, I'll take a nap and I'll run through what's going to happen later that evening. And then you get the call to go downstairs to the lobby, and then you head towards the arena. Once you get to the arena, you know, you start to become more quiet and more focused. They wrap your hands, you start warming up, you start sweating, and they call you out. They say your name, 5 minutes. You go, they call you out, the camera's on you, you walk through the doors, and then it's time to go. Time to go. That's the best part, to be honest. I hate waiting, but once you're in the cage, that's the best part.
100%. I love it. It's always good catching up, Farid. It really, really is. I always enjoy these conversations. Have a great and safe rest of the camp. I'm hoping to get to Abu Dhabi to watch you fight live. So if I see you around the hotel, then I'll be sure to say hello. But have a great and safe rest of the camp, and hopefully talk soon.
Amazing, Mike. Thank you very much. See you soon.